Welcome to another episode of It Had to Be Said podcast, where we say out loud what you think in private. No topic is off limits. I'm going to start off today's podcast with a scenario. Imagine you're a guy, you're hanging out at your house with your homeboys, and your girlfriend or wife walks out of her bedroom in her underwears and bras. What would your reaction be? I'm pretty sure if you're not somebody who's into being cockled or anything else like that, or exhibitionists or a swinging couple, you're more than likely going to get upset and be like, babe, what the heck are you doing, right? Now, think about this. Imagine you're a woman and you have a female roommate and your boyfriend comes over to visit you and your female roommate walks out of her room with her bra and underwears on in front of your boyfriend. How would you react? If you're a female, and once again, if you're not into those things that I mentioned earlier, like sharing your mate and all this other stuff, you'll probably be really upset and, pissed off and probably lunge for somebody and grab a handful of hair, right? And the reason why I use those scenarios is because this is very controversial when I talk to people about it, and they think that I'm weird, and maybe I am weird. I'm very weird. If you guys have been listening to my podcast, I have some very weird point of views or stance on certain things. I think it's the same thing when you go to the beach. Like, how is it, like in any one of those scenarios, if your friends come over and your girlfriend or wife walks out in her panties and bra, you would get upset? Or if your friend walks out of her bedroom with her panties and bra in front of your boyfriend, you would get upset. But yet, because we're going to the pool or because we're going to the beach, it's perfectly fine to walk around with our panties and underwear, because now we just changed the name from panties and bra to a swimsuit or a bikini, or better yet, a thong. I can't wrap my head around that, because I feel like just because you change the location, which is even worse, because it's not like you change the location to a private place, you change it to a public place, and you change the name of the outfit or the clothing or the garments, it becomes something totally different. I can't wrap my head around that. So I've never been a fan of dating anyone or being with somebody and them wearing like their bikinis or two-piece bathing suits to the beach, because it's kind of like, for me, I'm like, you're just literally walking around butt naked or half, you're literally walking around in your underwear, and it's so crazy to think about it, because, if you're a guy, right, and you have a male friend or colleague or somebody like that, and they say, hey, let's hang out to the beach, and you bring your girlfriend or your wife along and they can see her, it's like, hey, they're just getting a free show, and, it's not about being insecure or, not trusting your woman. It's just, for me, and this is just for me, it's not about insecurity or anything like that. It's just, logically, when you think about it, just like I gave you those scenarios at the beginning, logically, when you think about it, a two-piece bikini is basically a bra and a panties, and you're wearing it out in public. I would not allow, and if somebody came to my house, I would not allow you to walk around like that in the privacy of our home in front of one person. I would get upset if you do that in the privacy of our home. But for some reason, somehow, branding and marketing has told us it's okay to do it in public in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people. That's just something logically that I can't wrap my head around. Once again, maybe I'm weird. And a lot of people are going to think that I'm weird because, once something has become normalized to you, it's kind of like you can't really, it's hard to unnormalize it, right? It's hard to see around it. But I want you to keep in mind, to anyone who's listening to this podcast, I want you to keep in mind that in 1946 is when the first bikini was actually worn. And it was made by a Frenchman in Paris in 1946. And on July, what is it? Yeah, July 5th, 1946. No woman at the time would wear that. Um, the bikini was made by an engineer. His name is Louis Reedley or something. Reed, and he literally had to pay a stripper, what they at the time they call a Cabernet dancer. He literally had to pay a Cabernet dancer, which is a stripper, to wear it out to the beach in public, to show the bikini. You know, that's how controversial it was, and that's how conservative women were, right? And I'm not gonna try to get off topic, but you got to think about this guy, right? He's an engineer. He loves women's body, and I think women, by nature, I think men are supposed to appreciate a woman's body because it's beautiful. Um, but I don't know if he thought about the damage that he was going to do to society, because one of the things, and I had this conversation with my colleague here at the office. One of the things that a lot of modern women in today's society have failed to realize is that they are the prize. And I made a podcast talking about how women fail to realize they are the prize. And a lot and men are naturally attracted, well, not non-gay men or non-LGBT men who are not associated with that community. We're naturally attracted to women. And when a woman is just showing off everything, like you go to a gym nowadays, right? Everything is skin tight. They make these pants that actually goes into the cracks, into the butt cracks of the women and all this other stuff, and it just shows everything, right? And women, they get a lot of attention. Well, the women who wear those things, they get a lot of attention, and there are all types of men in this world. There are good men, bad men, abusive men, liars, cheaters, stealers, all types of men, right? But for the most part, most women say they want a good man. And the funny thing about it is, good men will look at a woman like that. He would stare, he would sleep with her, he would mess around with her, but he typically doesn't marry her, right? And even though it's right there in our face, I see that a lot of women in today's society, they don't understand that, especially the ones that continuously carry themselves like that, right? Um, the ones that get married, the ones that get married are the ones that are, um, you know, that are trustworthy, the ones that are not showing off all their goods. Because most men, good men, not I'm going to say most men, most good men, and men who have standards, going to they're not going to appreciate being with a woman. Well, they can't see themselves with a woman who is just walking around, just showing off themselves. So uh, it's yeah, this is a little bit of a controversial topic. I'm trying not to be so harsh or like, because here's the thing. Everybody should be able to wear what they want to wear. Everybody should be able to do whatever they want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt or hurt anyone, right? But this message is really, once again, for the woman out there who says, I want to get married. I want a good man. I want a serious relationship. I want a serious partner. And I don't want somebody who's going to treat me like crap. Here's the thing. If you carry yourself a certain way, you're going to chase away those individuals. And the individuals and that particular type of individuals, the ones that you may be looking for, that's a good man, he's caring, he's loving, he's going to be faithful, and he's going to treat you right. They may sleep with a woman who dressed like that because he may have an urge if he's single, or he may wants to just experience being with a nice woman, because everybody loves something that's nice and beautiful. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to wifey her and marry her, right? So you may get the attention from the type of guys you like, but you're not going to settle down. But they're not going to settle down with you, because once again, the women choose who they sleep with, men choose who they marry, and it's just a given. It's just a fact. That's just the way society works. I'm not attacking women in this podcast. I'm just simply saying, it's weird to me how a woman can walk out the house, with something, so not just the swimsuit issue, but go to a gym or wear these workout outfits and walk out the house and show like every curve and crease of her body, and especially her front print. And, you know, and I don't know, I guess, and still not understand that, you know, she's not she's going to attract attention, but it's not like the type of attention that she wants. And it creates an environment where, you know, she puts herself in danger and puts herself at risk of being judged. And sometimes it becomes so normalized that you see mothers, you know, with, you know, elementary and middle school kids, you know, well, primarily elementary kids, dress a certain way and carrying themselves a certain way. And, you know, they don't realize like the damage they're doing to that child until that child becomes like a middle schooler or a high schooler and can actually speak up and basically say, Mom, you're looking like a whore. Why are you dressed like that? Don't come around. Or, you know, I don't want you around me. I don't, you know, want to take pictures with you. It's like they're embarrassed, you know. um I, like I said, I'm weird. I don't know. Like none of my podcasts are really scripted. None of my podcasts are really scripted. It's just something that I'm just talking about off the top of my head. Um, you know, I find it very interesting. I had a conversation with a client of mine. What was it, yesterday? As a matter of fact, and you know, I was talking to her, and you know, and she's like, "Well, I guess I'm going to start going back to the gym. I'm going to dye my hair, and I got to do this and that." And I had to stop her, and I'm like, "Look, um, you know, the gym part is fine and stuff like that, but you know, like I literally, you know, there was some other things that she said, and I'm not going to get too much in detail because I don't want her to know that I'm talking about her on a podcast. She does listen to this podcast, and I was just like, look, that fake eyelashes, the fake hair stuff, you know, men are men. How can I put this? Men can be attracted to some certain things, but it's not necessarily that they like it, right? And I had to tell her straight up, like, never take advice about men from women, because women don't chase men, men chase women. And so therefore women don't really know what men like. And you can see that in today's society, right? Women are walking around butt cheeks out, half naked, BBLs everywhere, and these long eyelashes, and they have these huge makeup tutorials where everybody's wearing makeup. You know, it's kind of like you can't tell who they are with. It's like Clark Kent and Superman. Once they put on the makeup, they become Superman. Once they take it off, they're Clark Kent. Like you can't even tell the difference, right? And the thing about it is, uh, the women who get the BBLs and walk around with all the tight stuff and, you know, practically looking naked and doing certain things, these women get a lot of attention, and they get a lot of men that want to sleep with them. And they do sleep with a lot of men most of the times. I mean, because they get a lot of, you know, they got a lot of men coming after them. So they have a lot of options, right? Not saying they all are whores or nothing like that, but they have a lot of options. And yet, you still see a majority of them on OnlyFans or on Instagram selling themselves. They haven't got the house, they haven't gotten the cars, and they haven't gotten all these things. And you see a lot of them ended up in jail for scamming people and drugging these guys to make money off of them. You know, if you think about places like Thailand, you know, the Philippines, South America, Brazil, Colombia, places where people go for sex tourism, in Dominican Republic, these are some of the most beautiful and gorgeous women out there in the world, right? And when you see the videos and you watch YouTube, or if you go there and you walk down the streets, you see some of these women, you're like, oh my gosh, gorgeous. And you wonder, why is it that like nobody's wifey them up or tooking them out of this rough life? It's because they're taking advice from other women. They're seeking attention, and they don't really, and they think that men are dumb. And there are some dumb men out there in the world, but a man who's a good man, an established man, whether it's he's established in his career, he owns a business, or, you know, he's working his way up to something, you know, we understand that those women may be attractive, but they're not for us. We may sleep with them, but it's not somebody that we're going to marry and wifey. And if these women take advice from men and they understand, they would simply say, okay, I know I'm beautiful. I know I have a nice body. And I want to get somebody who's going to support me and take care of me, and somebody I can be with, who, instead of me having to sell my body in order to make money, these women could just dress normally, and just be conservative. Because the thing about it is this, it's like, okay, how could I explain this best? Okay, it's like Christmas, right? When it's Christmas time, we have a Christmas tree and we have all these presents underneath the Christmas tree, and everybody's excited. They're looking at the box. You're looking at how the box is wrapped, the size of the box. You might try to shake the box a little bit to figure out, if your parents allow you to shake the box, but you try to, figure out what's inside of it, right? And you're really excited about like unwrapping that Christmas gift so you can, finally see and get to what's inside of that box. And women don't understand, like for men, it's the exact same thing. If you're walking around and you're showing off everything, we're going to look, it's a free show, but there's no excitement when you're about to get it, because you already know what you're getting. You can already visualize it and see it because it's right there in front of you, right? And there's a reason why men love sundresses, like you'll notice a lot of men are obsessed with some sundresses and summer dresses and stuff like that. It's because the sundress, it's really loose. It's not, a sundress is not really stuck onto a woman, right? You ever notice that? A sundress at the top, it kind of fits a little bit at the top, it's fitted, but towards the bottom part, it's long, it covers up the legs, it's very loose, it's very flowy. But it gives the guy a good indication of how you look, but without showing off everything. And men are obsessed with that because they're like, oh my gosh, I wonder, I wonder what's underneath there. Like, that's the beauty of the sundress. It kind of tantalizes you a little bit, but you still have room for imagination to sit there and say, oh my gosh, I wonder what's there. You can't see her legs. You can see her shape a little bit, but you can't really make out everything. And so therefore, the anticipation of, that process of, getting intimate, it's a little bit more intense in the anticipation of getting to know the person, because you want to unwrap that gift, that Christmas gift. You want to unwrap that. But when you're just walking around showing off everything, everybody's looking and they're just like, and this is the thing about it. If you are a woman and you're walking around, you walk into a room for the first time, and you got your BBL on, or you got your shorts on, you're showing your breasts, you're showing your ass out and everything else like that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to beep out that part. What's going to happen is the first time you walk into that room, all the guys are going to look like, oh my gosh. The second time, they're going to look. Third, fourth. By the fifth time you walk into the room, guys are going to just give you like, okay, they're going to keep it moving. They're going to keep it moving. They're not going to care anymore because they've seen enough, It's kind of like the old saying, show me the sexiest woman in the world and I'll show you the guy who's tired of sleeping with her, right? Like, show me the girl with the baddest body who's showing it off all the time, and I'll show you a bunch of men who are tired of seeing it. That's just the way it is. But you'll always notice it's that lady who's wearing the business suit or wearing the clothes that kind of covers up everything, but you can't see nothing, but she got something underneath there. That's the one everybody's kind of like, damn, I wonder what's underneath there. It's that mystery that creates that excitement. And this is why I say women shouldn't listen to other women, because women are listening to women are seeing other women who dress a certain way. And so therefore they see these women get attention. They said, okay, let me go this way. Even though you can see plenty of videos online and you can talk to a lot of men, they'll tell you, I prefer a natural woman. I prefer a woman that's covered up. I prefer that stimulant of the mystery, the excitement of the Christmas gift. They'll be like, no, that's not what you like, because I see what you're going after. And men can clearly tell them. If you have brothers, sisters, if you have brothers, a dad, an uncle, or even a male friend or cousin, a male cousin, they'll tell you, yeah, we're going after them because they're easy. Look at that. If you're already practically halfway naked and you're showing off everything, how much harder could it be to get the rest of the little bit of clothes off? That's why they go after them, because it's easy. It doesn't necessarily mean that they like them or they're going to wifey them. So that's why I think people have that misunderstanding. But once again, I'm going to cut this podcast short because I know this could be a little controversial. There's a lot more aspects to this, but I just wanted to kind of cover up those basics. We do post new podcasts every Tuesday and Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night.